All right, I think we're live. Welcome everybody to episode 9 weeks so far of Amazon Nightcap, where Kevin and I either talk by ourselves with the chat or bring someone else on. Today we have FBABoys, a true OG in the space. A lot of people know him. So welcome, Alex. Appreciate you coming on.
Thanks, guys, for having me. This is always a good time.
Yeah. So for those who don't know you, just give us a little rundown of what you do, how long you've been doing it, kind of your journey, if you don't mind.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been doing this for a while. 2017 really started with not much capital, and really that's why it's taken me so long to kind of grow to where I'm at. It's been 7 years, and then managing, being able to pay myself, dealing with student loans that are coming up. There's a lot of external factors that kind of can hold back a business. So, navigating that, I see some people that have been in for 3 years, 4 years that just surpass me. And it's incredible to see. But I'm always wondering, what made that, what caused that? Is it because maybe they weren't paying themselves for 4 years? But again, it's never good to compare yourself to anyone else. Everyone's, on the same journey. And even a seller like myself, I get caught up in looking at, other people and saying, oh, damn, he's doing that. What am I doing wrong? So I've been doing it since 2017. Started my parents' basement. Before that, I was working for a distribution company, so that kind of pieced it together. Really, I was working for this company selling to some Amazon guys. I said, "Why am I sitting here for $15 an hour? Let me go open an account." And I did that. I was doing Amazon while working there at the same time, and then it came to a point where, I was running out to lunch to even grab things on Facebook Marketplace to flip them on eBay. And I said, all right, I'm making more money running out to lunch than I am sitting here all day. So I just made the leap with the assumption, all right, I'll keep on doing this Facebook Marketplace to eBay flipping thing. But then I got more into Amazon, started reaching out to distributors, started eventually reaching out to the old company I used to work at and basically say, hey, you got any product? And, I had a great relationship with the manager there, and I still do today. So, leveraging your network's important. I tell people that are even considering the business. Maybe you're in college and you're looking for a part-time job. Maybe get a job associated with the Amazon field. Whether
Mm.
that's a sales rep at a distribution company, something that's going to get you involved, that's going to help you navigate your future hopes of running your own Amazon business. Get yourself in that industry. And I feel like a lot of people kind of just jump in and say, all right, I'm going to start this Amazon business. But it helps when you are in the atmosphere. Like for me, working at that distribution company totally made my Amazon journey a lot easier because I just understood the processes. I understood, why some distributors that we call don't pick up the phone. I understand why, and it all pieced together because I was in that position of taking calls. We would get hundreds of leads a day, and nobody would even bother with all these leads because there was 6 guys on the sales floor. Our guys were focusing on guys that are spending 100 grand a
Mm.
month with us. We weren't going to go call this guy who says he wants to spend 250 bucks.
Yeah.
So, that's it's the hard truth. At the
Right.
end of the day, you have to understand that some of these companies that you're contacting, some of these major distributors, their motivation and their drive is that commission they're working on.
Right.
So you have to kind of approach them and say, all right, what can I do to help you? So, that was a huge pinnacle in my journey. And of course, maybe the first year in business, we did 100,000, and the following year, 200,000, hit a million, 1.5, maybe 2, 3, and we just did 4.2. So again, it takes time. People think like, oh wow, 4.2, that's like, a ton of money. But at the end of the day, we have this huge payroll. We're paying for this facility. Like it's not as glamorous as people really think. People
Right, you're
think,
making a living.
yeah, I'm making a
Yeah.
living. I'm not making beyond. I'm not. There's no buying yachts or anything like that. It's people hear 4 million and they're like, whoa, But like at the end of the day, I pay myself a reasonable salary. I try to put everything I make back into the business. But then there's times where we have issues. We just had to
Yeah.
pull 4,000 units of $4,000 worth of vitamins that got marked as expired, even though they don't expire till June, but there's 200 tablets, so someone physically couldn't consume that many tablets, which I was unaware of.
Amazon
But
did that for you.
yeah,
Oh,
they
wow.
basically said like, yeah, we know it expires in June, but someone physically can't consume 200 tablets before the expiration date, so you're getting clipped.
Oh,
Wow.
And, again, those are direct impacts to our business, and that hurts our bottom line. So, 4.2 sounds great and dandy, but there's hiccups that happen like that. So, it's taken a while, 7 years to get where I'm at. I love what I do, but, there's definitely some down points that people don't talk about.
Sure. So talk to us a little bit about your kind of setup, kind of where you're located and why that's sort of kind of gives you an edge, I guess.
Awesome.
Let's say over, for example, Kevin and I, who are in that Atlanta area.
Yeah. So, New Jersey and New York is filled with tons of Amazon sellers. You got guys like Amazon Lit Throat over here. There are a lot of vendors, distributors in the New York area, in Jersey, and realistically, the only reason I don't move out of Jersey is because we get free delivery on everything with all our vendors. We have that 40-minute drive that we can take to bring them a coffee, shake their hands, tour the warehouse, see what's going on. And that stuff matters at the end of the day. Getting your face in front of the distributor is a major way to level up.
Sure.
So
okay.
We're really we're in Freehold, so we're down South Jersey. We split a 8,000 square foot facility with a buddy of mine. I want to say we got one manager and three employees at the moment.
Nice. Who does most of your sourcing?
So I do, and I'm working on. I've recently, 2 months ago, got a team of 2 VAs that are now scanning a list on a monthly basis. And I'm now kind of implementing the whole restock thing. So basically say, hey, I need you to monitor seller board and make sure I'm not sleeping at the wheel, and try to get all these SKUs stayed in stock, especially with the new kind of out of stock things that are coming up with the fee changes with Amazon. So I'm trying to have a better grasp on staying in stock. And, we've probably lost a bunch of money this year just from simply not staying in stock when we very well could have. So, I'm trying to make those adjustments and really trying to have the VAs do more of what I do on a daily basis, because, running through a catalog, it's exhausting sometimes.
Sure.
So especially I've been doing it for 7 years. I'm like, all right, here we go. Another Scan Unlimited. And VAs are great for like even manually sourcing sites. The scrapers aren't the best. So they'll run through an entire site and dig up stuff that Scan Unlimited couldn't find. So, that's another aspect, but we're kind of fresh. I'm fresh to the VA game. There's a lot of legwork in the beginning and a lot of money you're spending on them in the beginning, which I've just kind of really come to the realization that hopefully it will pay off once we are locked and loaded. So we'll see how it goes.
Right. We do got a question in the chat. Someone said, did you grow up in New Jersey? That is Central New Jersey, not South Jersey.
So I grew up in I guess what's called North Jersey. So, or I'm on the borderline of North and Central. There's a big debate where Central is, where South Jersey is. If it's bacon, egg, and cheese or pork roll, the typical Jersey, nonsense. But yeah, no, born in Jersey, and of course, we all want to move to Brickell, Miami, but in the reality of things, it's just not feasible. It really isn't.
Right. All right. So you said you started in 2017. That's 7 years ago, right? Just some quick math. And something that we always ask people that when they come on, sort of a staple question that I like to ask. And I think you're a perfect person to ask this because you've been in this game 7 years.
Yeah.
When you think about like success on Amazon, I think about sort of longevity, somebody who can be at this for more than a year, 2 years, 3 years, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
To me, that speaks success, being able to sustain that for a long time. So I always ask people, what are the 2 things, not 3, not 4, not 5, 2 things that sort of characteristics of what you think someone needs to have in order to be successful
on Amazon? Yeah. So the main thing is being persistent. A lot of people that are young try to get into this to make a quick buck, and they see flashy things on Instagram that show that we can get your store up and running, and you have to be persistent with the business. It's not going to happen overnight. The first 3 years of me selling on Amazon, I thought about quitting every day, but you just kind of got to keep going, and then you find a good profitable item, and it boosts you up a little bit, and that's the reality. Being persistent, giving it your all every day. And in the beginning, when you're starting on Amazon, it's very hard to kind of get that energy, especially if you're having another job or something you're dealing with. You're doing long hours. You might not be finding stuff. You might be getting frustrated. So being persistent is key. I think the second one would be get involved in the industry or the networking, or talk to other people, because other people are probably going what you're going through. And to be able to just have a conversation saying, man, this is getting tough, or margins are getting a little tighter. How are you dealing with it this year? It's going to make it seem like you're not alone in the game, because for the first 3 or 4 years, I know anyone in Amazon space. I was just kind of doing it and just like, all right, this is, and, getting criticism from my parents, like, what's really going on here? What are you doing in the basement? Why is UPS coming every day? So I think that's something I lacked in the beginning of my journey, is that I didn't get myself out there. I really should have went to like ASD in the beginning, just not even for the vendors, but for the ability to talk with other sellers, to understand and get some sort of group with other people. And that's the crucial part. I just saw on Instagram, I'm blanking out on his name, but they did a ski trip with
Levy.
Yeah. And I was like, that is awesome, because those are people that have the same mindset, that are dealing with the same issues, that are getting their business going, that want to get it to the next level. And that's how you get it there, by, collaborating and stuff like that.
Well, it's good to hear those answers. Literally everybody that we ask, it's very similar, parallel answers, consistency, involving yourself. So, I say that to say it's like, it doesn't really take someone to be extremely smart to like learn Keepa and learn all those tools that we use. I think it's more of a behavior thing, right?
Yeah.
So good to know. We do. Manuel de la Fuente says, really enjoying the live. I don't have any questions, but I'm listening and learning. Awesome.
Let's go.
Luis says, hardest L you've taken and the lessons you've learned from it.
I know Luis. I think I've chatted with him on Instagram. Oh man, hardest L. I've taken plenty of them. I take them for breakfast at this point. There's always something I'm dealing with. I
can think of one. For you.
All right, what
I
do
don't
you
know
got?
if this has been your biggest or not, but so I sort of, when I started to get involved in the space and learned about you and sort of keeping up with your Instagram stuff, I remember in 22, I believe, you guys were shut down in December, right? All of
Yeah,
December. That's
I know.
huge.
That was huge. That was a huge L. You know, I think I've dealt with 2 shutdowns,
Yeah, man.
and they are honestly, you can't sleep. You're racing thoughts. You're like, am I going crazy? Because
Kevin, he's not lying, brother.
yeah,
Can't
I
imagine.
went to lunch with this guy, bro. He was shaking the table. He was so anxious.
yeah,
You were
because I was
deactivated when you were with Danny?
no, but
No.
I was
It was like
dealing with something
Oh.
else when I was with Danny. And it's
Oh,
just,
man.
you know what? I just get so stressed out about that. Amazon has you buy the cuffs, and there's nothing we can do about it. And it's just like, all right, if I'm gonna go dump 400K in inventory, what happens if I get a random clip? I know a lot of people that are getting clipped for Section 3 right now that are buying it from solid distributors that I know. And some of these guys, you know, I'm not going to say any names that are guys on Instagram, but, you know, I talked to them and said, damn, you got clipped like that. Like, if that happens to me, I don't know what I'm going to do. You know, I'll be heading over to the TikTok shop. So, you know, it's definitely like, you know, what I really started to do. A buddy of mine told me, he's like, every Amazon payout, take 10% of it and put it into a business savings and forget about it.
Yeah.
And I've started to do that because it's kind of giving me this peace of mind that I have money somewhere else. You know, I can maybe, like I mentioned with you, all right, maybe I'll take that money and buy a house or something.
Right.
Will my Amazon sales keep on expanding and growing? Probably not as much as I'd like, but it's going to give you that sense of security that is, I feel like everyone really needs in Amazon, some sort of sense of security.
Sure.
Because there's even, you know, my buddy sells a bunch of Nike, Adidas. Things happen. They come after you and they're not accepting the Nike receipts. And then it's, you know, all this inventory that's caught up. There's always a new problem. So dealing with Amazon it's tricky.
Yep. All right, let's see. Manuel de la Fuente says, I have been by myself for the last 3 years. Started in 2020. I get the same look from my family, but the grass and the profit that keep me going are what keep me going.
Yeah.
Manuel, I actually, when I used to get some weird looks from my family, not weird looks in like, they were never questioned what I was doing. It was always like, oh my God, like we can't believe you're doing that. Like that's amazing, you know?
That's great. Yeah.
Different,
I
obviously.
I even had my aunt this Thanksgiving. She's like, "So what do you really do?
Yeah.
Something with Amazon?"
Your
I'm
mom
like,
was telling me.
"Yeah, your
No.
mom was telling me." And you know, my grandmother thinks I drive the truck. You know, so like,
Dude.
it's hard to kind of, you know, we buy products from brands and distributors, we bring it to our warehouse, and then we ship it out on pallets. You know, I try to emphasize the pallets so it sounds a little more legit. You know, I don't know. It sounds like bigger pallets. We're sending pallets out.
Yeah.
It's hard to comprehend for someone, you know, that's maybe 60, that's not used to this whole e-commerce thing. They all think like e-commerce is this fad. They think it's like
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
It's like in space.
That's honestly like kind of hilarious. But like,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So I still, to this day, I'm like, I've been doing this for 7 years. You still got questions about this? If this is a stable career?
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, like, you know, oh, I think I'll figure. I've been shut down twice. I think I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Dude, that's insane.
Jonathan Torres asks, what is the best way to hop on in the Amazon game, in your opinion?
It all depends on kind of your budget. You know, you want to start with, I like people start with $500, you know, getting their feet wet with even some OA stuff, proof of concept. the worst thing is spending all this money and then, putting in $5,000 and you get back $4,000 and you're like, all right, I'm done with this. Spreading yourself thin, go very thin. Don't go deep in everything. If you're going to even, buddy of mine does shoes. He only buys a couple pieces of each size. Go very thin with it.
So it's funny you say this because I told Kevin about this earlier. I've been coaching this guy for a few months now, and sort of brand new seller, like no account set up, so going through that whole thing, verification, sort of the ungating process, and blah 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 blah. And this guy, I mean, he is ready. He will run through a wall if I told him to, like he's so ready to go. He's very young. So I kept telling him, I'm like, all right, this is what you need to do. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, blah, blah, blah. I follow up on him. He's distracted with something else. And I'm like, bro, keep. If you try to focus on 10 different things, it ain't going to work. These 3, 4 things, So we started talking about products. He's finally gotten to the point where he can start buying products and we can start sort of getting your feet wet. And the ultimate goal is to obviously do OA at a massive scale, do wholesale, that type of stuff. And so I recommended to him, I was like, you need to do RA first. He's like, oh, why? And I was like, because you can go get the product today.
Yeah.
You can list it today, possibly sell it today or within the next few days. So he goes out, and later that night we have a call, and he's like, man, RA is for the birds, man. I'm never doing that again. And I was like, hey, you remember that first conversation we had? I told you this wasn't going to be easy.
Yeah.
I said the only difference between RA and how difficult it is in wholesale, instead of you going, now you're dealing with freight companies, having to pick up your stuff and delivering it, and where do I need to put it? And so it's easy. It's hard across the whole board.
And
I'm
people
trying to
a lot of people like, oh man, I'm going to be in there. People are going to be looking at me, scanning stuff. Like it's a whole now they're stressed out about that. And I've been in Marshalls, I've been in the Rosses. I like to just do it for fun at this point, just to see, all right, what can we grab today?
Yeah, like a challenge almost.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to start there. You have to start there. It's just if you want to just jump right into wholesale and ordering pallets on pallets, it's not the move. You have to understand the process, and then you can slowly move forward. Nobody jumps into Amazon selling tons of just shipping pallets every week. It's a gradual process.
Unless you're Danny. No, I'm just kidding.
No, chill. Now, I will say that there are people who go crazy and start selling immediately. Like, 3 months in, I'm selling 100K. My argument to that is, well, tell me where they are now. And I can name a few of them that they're just gone.
Yeah, vanished.
So,
yeah, I know. It's hard. It's very easy to get to 100K, but the second point of that is, are you making any money at 100K?
Right.
Oh, great, you did 100K. All right, how much money do you make? Oh, $1,000. It's a serious conversation people don't like to have. Is what's your take home after that? Everyone can pump numbers. It's easy to pump numbers, but it's a lot harder to go a little lighter and be more profitable. And that's something I really want to work on this year. All right, screw it. If I can do 3 million and make more money than I did with 4.2, that's a no-brainer. That's less work. I see scenarios where I have my guys prepping stuff, and then we're breaking even on the listing. And now I'm thinking, all right, now I'm paying all these guys to prep this stuff. Took all day, and this is becoming a total dud. So that's something but do the orange bars look great? Yeah. But at the end of the day, who really cares? So
listen, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
Because there are so many people out there who there was a YouTube video that I showed to Kevin and some of our friends, and I was like, someone breaking down like their Amazon business, and I was like, all right, like we're not doing bad. Like sometimes we kind of get in slumps. You're like, oh man, like this, I'm not doing good, you know. But then when someone else breaks it down, you're like, oh wait a minute, they sold 3 or 4 times as much as me, but I made more profit with that than them because, you know, maybe I'm doing this solo or I'm doing it out of my house or I don't have these crazy overheads and stuff like that. So it's a very good point.
That you know, that's key. You know, it's in reality, you know, we have a handful of items we're trying to either get better pricing for, because it comes to a point where it's just like, all right, now we just prepped, we 2-packed all these things and now we're, you know, we're breaking even. What does this, that doesn't make any sense. Let's scale it back. Let's cherry pick the good stuff. Let's, you know, maybe even cut back on payroll, because to be honest with you, just payroll alone's over 10 grand a month. It's between 10 and 15. Rent's another 4. You know, seller snaps 500 for some freaking reason. So, you know, you add all this up and it's coming to like, all right, we got to make at least like 20 grand to break even. And a lot of people don't understand that, you know, me having a freaking 250K month ain't good. That's break even.
Right.
You know? So it's crazy to think about that. It's crazy to think about that. But
it might take the whole year off if I get 250.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, all right, you know, you know, if we're not doing at least 350 a month, 400, it's no good. So, you know, now we're kind of making adjustments. I've gotten rid of one, you know, assistant manager that really didn't like being there, and I was paying a lot. Cutting things loose, tightening the ship, and focusing on bringing in just very profitable products. You know, not needing staff as much, so we can, you know, potentially payrolls. It's always going to be my biggest expense, but included in that is paying myself. So like that includes my salary. So, you know, we're not really breaking even. We're basically just getting by.
Yeah, you're funding. Yeah, I mean,
myself, but you know, a lot of people see, oh, 250, that's incredible. I want to be there. But if you are not factoring all these expenses, that's where you're going to get lost. And that's how a lot of businesses go down. A lot of businesses. I know a handful of people that overextended themselves, whether that was warehouse, whether that was staff, and they have no money left. And you know, these are things that it can catch up with you real quick. If you're having a buyer that's maybe buying wrong stuff or bad stuff and you're not on top of it, that's where it's not going to happen immediately. It's going to take a slow trend where you'll see the business just have to close shop. So, you know, it's important to understand every single expense you're dealing with and how to potentially minimize that. And that's why, you know, it's important to, I don't tell people don't jump into a warehouse, leverage the prep center, do as much as you can in your house. Geez, you are, you know, you're already paying the mortgage or the rent in your house, ship the stuff there. So, you know, that's just going to help with your growth.
absolutely.
You know, staying, you know, I was in my parents' basement for 2.5 years until I got a space. And then when I got a space, I was only paying $600 a month. It was super cheap and it had a loading dock, and I split it with Dan, my buddy Dan, 1,000 ASINs. So, you know, I was always concerned about, all right, $600 is a lot. You know, I'm going to have to make up for that. And then eventually you grow, you build relationships with distributors, you get better pricing, and you slowly make it happen. But it's constantly a grind. You know, if anyone tells you otherwise, they'd be lying. There's always something coming up, or navigating some issue, or Amazon didn't receive all the units we sent in. There's always something, and it's not for the faint of heart, but it can be really rewarding.
Right. I'm interested to hear your take on this question. What the difference between Seller Snap and BQ? Give you some context. I use Seller Snap coming from BQ.
Oh, so I never used Be Cool. I was an Aura guy, and then before that, I was an Alpha Repricer guy. I don't even know if anyone knows what that is,
Never
but
even
that
heard of
was that was a rocky one. But I think Seller Snap really, I've seen it bring pricing up. Where at the end of the day, all right, it probably brought up enough products where it's going to clear that $500. It's a great tool. I really that's really the main thing. Just that pushing of pricing up. I felt like
Yep.
Aura was always running things to the ground, and I said, all right, I know it's $500, but let me give it a try. And we've been using it for a few years now. I think it's good, but I don't think it's required unless if you're fresh starting out. Don't do that. You
Oh,
want
definitely
to
not.
you want to start with the Be Cool, the Auras, and then slowly kind of make your way up to Seller Snap.
Sure. The thing about Seller Snap that I like, so the whole theory behind it, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but there's a theory, it's called game theory.
Yeah.
And essentially what that means is that the system is going to sort of think of the other sellers and the other players on the listing. Hence why it's always bringing that price up rather than dropping the price down.
Yeah.
When I started using it, you sort of know what your items are selling for. I noticed immediately as soon as it was turned on, things are just moving up, and obviously it is up and down throughout the day, but at an average, it's pushing that average up.
Do you have any sort of rules you set, or do you just let the AI run?
No, I let the AI run. There have been some products that I'm trying to get rid of quickly that I changed the buy box share target, because you could change that in the settings.
Yeah.
And I might change that to 100%. And then in that point, it's going, it's driving down as long as it's getting those sales.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a similar setup. And then another one I've been yo-yoing a couple things.
Yep.
Which is cool. I never really yo-yoed products until a few months ago. And I was like, all right, wow, we can kind of scoop up sales at break even and scoop up sales at making a little money on that SKU that I was talking about that we were going to break even. The whole staff was prepping.
Nice. Guys, if you guys are in the chat, we got 16 people in the chat. Feel free to ask any questions. We'll try to answer them as much as we can. I do have another question. And I think I know your answer, obviously, because you're pretty invested in the space. But I always wonder is all right, Amazon became really, really popular, I would say, as a result of COVID. People at home, that type of stuff. Amazon, as we know, is making it harder and harder for people to stay in the business.
Yeah.
Especially with these new fees that are coming out, right? This low stock fee thing.
I know.
Where do you see Amazon third-party sellers, 3, 4, 5 years from now?
I think it's going to be really mainly brand kind of direct accounts. I think you're going to have to tighten up a lot of things. They're going to want every day they want more documents. You have to, what's crazy is even we get it like a counterfeit complaint and we submit the invoice from the physical brand and they deny it. And I say, so it's like saying we bought them from the brand. I think it's going to move over to, the thing is these larger sellers are going to start kind of have that buying power to put those large POs and secure those kind of those exclusive agreements. I think we're going to kind of move towards that. I think every year it gets harder for someone starting out, whether that's ungating or trying to open up a brand. We have a handful of brands and you'll go on their website and they say no e-commerce, but we have the account because we opened it 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm seeing more and more of that. Of course, there's ways to kind of get around that. There's really, I like to talk, if a brand says no e-commerce, I kind of say, is there any particular reason? Or is there a reason maybe you're selling the sporting doc who's on the listing and not myself? Is it a PO thing? Do you need a sizable PO? I always tell the story of my buddy that I was trying to get an account that he had. And I said, how did you get this account? It's brick and mortar only. And he said the sales rep was in the area. He was working on commission. He checked out the warehouse and he left with a 500K PO.
Holy
And I
shit.
said, that will probably, that'll probably do it. And the moral of the story is they're willing to work with e-commerce guys, just not everyone. They're looking for people that have deep pockets. But again, that brand was doing 4 or 5 million a month through Amazon. There's smaller brands that we've worked with that are happy with $1,000 PO. So, it's always important to do your research into the brand before you contact them. Do some background research. What is Smart Scout saying they're doing on a monthly basis? Come prepared to that phone call you might have with them. You don't want to act like, you don't really know about the company or their products and stuff like that. It's going to look bad. So
Sure.
Understand what type of caliber you're going up against. A brand that's doing 4 or 5 million a year is, you're going to want to bring your checkbook with a couple zeros in it.
Right.
Opposed to a brand maybe doing 50,000 a month, they're okay with maybe a $600, $700, $800 order. So it's important to do your research, and I think a lot of people fail to do that research and just kind of jump into it and say, "Oh, I'm going to call them," and then just get tons of rejections because they didn't do that prior research, and then they were spinning their wheels on how they can't open accounts. So, understanding that they are working to work with some e-commerce guys, just not everyone, and every brand's different, and brands are a lot more difficult to work with than distributors.
You said it nicely. I say it this way. They're willing to work with e-commerce brands, just not you.
Yeah.
This is essentially what it means. For all those
Yeah.
reasons you just said.
Yeah. And, a lot of people starting out need to come to that realization of, it's not, how many phone calls do you think they're getting a day? How many emails? Tons.
I think that's where you can sort of leverage your network, right? Like, hey, get a group of buddies and say, hey, if I can land this, is everybody willing to pitch in 5K or 10K or whatever it is? Because instead of you going to them saying, hey, I got 5K budget for an order, you going in there and saying, I got 25, 50K.
Yeah. Now it's a different talk. Yeah.
That's a different talk.
Yeah. So
we got this question right here. It's a pretty good question. Is it volume over profit or profit over volume?
Volume over profit. So I don't even know how he's really wording this.
So I'll answer.
Yeah, because I'm lost.
Answer. For me, it's profit over volume because of my circumstances, right? I'm doing this out of my house. I have a 9-to-5 job. My hours are very limited that I can spend. So if I'm spending my hours on something that's making me $2 or spending my hours on something that's making me $5, I'm going with the 5 every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Obviously, that doesn't correlate to volume, right? But my capacity doing it out of my house can only take me to an X volume.
Yeah. Our profit directly correlates with the volume we do. Yeah. We're not having a great month. It's because we're not pushing out enough products. And that when you're in a facility and when you have payroll, it has to be a constant flow of, all right, products coming in and products going out as soon as possible. So, we're okay making $1 on things. I'm fine making $1 on things. We make 75 cents on some things, but we sell 900 a month. So it all depends on the product and your circumstance, really. You don't want to be making 75 cents and sending it to a prep center. That's going to charge you 75 cents to prep. that would probably be an ideal client for me. But you want to understand those type of circumstances.
Sure.
I tell a lot of people that use prep centers, focus on stuff has a sale price over $30, or even higher. Make sure that you can give up that prep. A lot of people start sourcing $10 or cheaper items, and maybe they can't send it to their house because there's no commercial address, or the truck can't back up. It's different for every situation. Maybe the road's smaller. So I tell people, focus on that higher ticket item that's going to make you more profit if you don't have that facility.
Right.
It's because we're working on some like supplements right now, and they're selling for like $100, and it's great because we're making more per item, and it's a nice mix between the stuff that sells very quickly and the tighter margin. So figuring out where you're at and then making that deciding factor.
I agree.
For
Let me ask you this. Luis asked, do you have any Walmart accounts as a plan B? I do not.
Nah, but I
No
got an eBay.
Walmart. I did get approved for TikTok Shop recently. I see Zach Sedano or something crushing it on TikTok.
I know, right? Bro, always post the screenshots.
I know. And I was chatting with him, and it's nuts. And I'm like, am I missing out on something that I could be doing? So it's definitely, again, we don't know how long that's going to last. That might be something that lasts a few months. I think Walmart's great, but you're not going to see the velocity like you see on Amazon. It's just never going to be the same. I don't think someone can survive just selling on Walmart.
Sure.
It's a plan B, but if Amazon goes down, plan B is not going to save me, with the overhead and everything like that. So
yeah. Mike from One Up FBA says, great chat, guys. Cool to see these topics discussed. What's up, Mike?
Yeah.
Mike in the house.
We met Mike at ASD in Vegas.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, he's cool. I like him. Saved me a bunch of money.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome.
Oh, man. Kevin, I'm not lying, brother. You should have seen this guy at lunch, man.
Oh, I know. That was a bad day.
The camera was like this. Like he was shaking the table like this.
He was rocking his leg, huh?
It was bad, man. When you're, we sent in 1,500 items, and the listing got clipped that morning.
What the fuck?
And dog page, boom. And I'm like, now I got 30 grand stuck, and I got to remove it all. And it's all going to come back piecemeal. But again, it comes down to, should I have been that deep in that product in the beginning? Probably not. Did I get a little greedy because it was so profitable? Yeah. So I said, all right, we're, full send. Let's run it. And again, sometimes those scenarios come to bite you, come back and bite you. But it's something I think that's also important with the Amazon space is to not be super greedy when you're going to make those POs. People can get very excited about, wow, look at all this potential profit. Instead of 100, I'm going to do 500. I want to go all in. And then 50 people hop on that listing and it becomes a loss. So, I think people get a little too excited, and even I'm a victim of it. I get too excited about things. I see some, I'm calculating, oh, wow, this could make us $5-6 grand this month. This is great. Let's send it. And then we have a situation where it gets dog paged. So being a little more conservative on those POs, I think, is a good strategy, and something that's my goal for 2024, because people can get very easily caught up in seeing the potential profit rather than seeing what that listing might look like, especially someone that's new. In my case, the listing I was on that got dog page was up for 4 or 5 years. So,
Wow.
from a standpoint of mine, I said, this got to be bulletproof. And just when that little, stupid looking dog pops up and you're like, oh my gosh.
Always a different one too.
Yeah, it's always a different one. Like the pug on the screen is going to make me feel any better. So it's, and I think a lot of Amazon sellers don't talk about those things. Don't talk about, all right, now I'm taking probably $2,000 in removal order fees to get this stuff back. And then I'm going to have to figure out what to do with it. So, I think, I'm trying to kind of talk a little more about, issues that go on in Amazon, because there's a lot of like, oh, look how great this is. But people need to see the not so great parts. And, I think the both of you have probably, been through similar, oh, I got to L situations. So, it's a part of the game.
Yep. All right, Rich Gaming asked this question. Is it better to do 12K and make 2.7 profit, or do 45 and make 5K profit? I can tell you.
Yeah.
It's money at the end of the day. Come on. What are we doing?
You go 12K all day.
Very weird question.
Wait. I think he's saying 12K sales.
Yeah, that's 12K sales, 2.7 profit, and 45K.
Oh, I'm thinking of PO.
No. Oh, maybe he is. I don't know. I took it as sales.
Yeah, me too. I'm not sure what he's asking. But Alex, when you first started off, you were straight into wholesale, right?
Yeah. I had no idea about the whole OA and RA stuff, because before I was on Amazon, I was working at a job that was selling. I was like, all right, this is how it works. And I'm like, holy crap, you're buying Stanley mugs off freaking Stanley and flipping them. I'm like, this is gold.
Yeah,
and I even got a taste of that wave. It was awesome. But yeah, I never really got into the OA. Always just wholesale from the get-go.
Yeah, when you started off, you mentioned you didn't have a lot of capital either. When you were starting off placing your first POs, were you like focused a lot on like high ROI, high margin type items, or you are a lot on like you had like what was your minimum basically, and what you would make on stuff?
I would probably doing a minimum of, I'd want to say like 20% margin, try to focus on those like fatter margin products. And then in the background, I was fixing and repairing phones and flipping them. So like, it wasn't enough income for me to pay myself. So like, I kind of just kept the Amazon money in that business, and then just paid myself from kind of wheeling and dealing phones on Marketplace.
Gotcha.
But
was there ever a time that you had a big influx of capital that you just said, okay, I'm throwing this in?
COVID.
Okay.
We got a loan.
Okay.
So we got a 30-year loan. 30-year loan to pay.
30-year loan? What the hell are you doing? Paying $1 a month?
We're paying $1,000 a month for the next 30 years.
Hey.
Yeah. I know. I'm gonna have gray hair by the time it's done. So, but that loan catapulted us. Now we could max out credit cards of 100 on this card, 100 on this card, and now we have our little reserve that can take care of the credit cards if we can't turn it quick enough. Then we could buy up to 60 days, 90 days worth of inventory, because we had that now buffer. So without that, I don't know where I would be at, especially because we paid like 3% interest on it. So low interest, and it was an SBA loan, the EIDL, the classic EIDL loan. A lot of my friends got big loans. I know people that got upwards of $2 million.
Holy.
$2 million just, and then what was the best part is like I was 24 or 23, and then I checked like my Bank of America. It had like $1,000 the day before, and then I saw 200 grand, and I'm like,
Woo!
whoa, we outside.
That's crazy.
You know, it like,
You put a deposit down in the Lambo.
yeah, just boom, Lambo.
Louis says that's free
So
money.
yeah. So it was a game changer, and of course it's scary to know that I still have to pay that off. But think about it. You know, $1,000 a month is easy for me to scrape up in profit. It's like I said, basically free money. So that was the big turning point in our kind of success. But you know, I know people that do it without it. I know someone that has a line of credit that goes up to 250 grand, and then leveraging the credit cards. So it can be done. There's other loan tools. People take Amazon loans. You know, if you're working on high enough margins, you can kind of toy the idea of an Amazon loan. You just really have to, you know, analyze your margin before you take that Amazon loan, because I know the rates are like getting pretty high.
We outside. All right, man. Well, if we got any other questions, you know, keep on coming in. Kevin, you got anything else, brother?
Dude, I had a question. It just fucking disappeared. And I'm over here
Who's gonna
writing
win the
shit
Super
down.
Bowl?
Well, I don't know nothing about that.
Alex, who's gonna win the Super Bowl? You know anybody?
Oh man,
What do you think?
I don't even know who's in the Super Bowl or anything.
Man.
I'm one of those guys.
Come on.
You know? I wish I was into it. All my buddies are like super into it, betting, all this stuff, and I'm like, they're like, "What's wrong with you?"
I don't know about that betting stuff either. Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you, Alex. You know, you're talking about all this, like, well, not all the, well, not literally all the issues, but a lot of the like downsides, right? When was the time when like where there was like a balance of like where you didn't have to worry so much, like if something happened? Like I think of it about it myself, like I'm not too worried about like, let's say a listing goes dog page disappears, because I'm not like super deep like into anything, right? I'm pretty widespread, mainly OA. So like, was there ever a time? Of course, you can say like in the beginning, but like where there was like a balance where like, you know, if a page listing something happened, you weren't
I was
super
chill.
duper worried about it. Yeah.
There's always something I don't think there's ever been a moment. Like I'm so ADD. I'm so like wired, and like, you know, it's just, and I think that's helped me get to where I am today. Is just I'm so crazy about everything, and making sure things are perfect, and making sure that everything's moving as efficiently as possible in the warehouse. And if people are slacking, I will go fire them. You know, at the end of the day, it's, you know, I got to make sure we're running optimal. So there's a constant stress level. I think as you grow, as the sales start pumping, the stress increases, especially like now, because, you know, now I'm thinking about buying a house and then having a couple kids. And like, now they're like, all right, now I really got to get my game into gear, you know.
And she's Latina.
That's forget about it. You know, so she'd take the chancla and just go.
A chancla. That's so funny.
So, you know, I think that's just how I am, how I'm wired. I've always, whatever I'll be in, even if, you know, I would love to explore other businesses down the line, and I'll always be that way just because that's how I run. And I think that's how I able to get things done. Honestly, I wish I was more chill.
Yeah. All right, we got another question here. How long did it took you guys to see a major change in your business, scaling wise? For me, it was 1 year, and in that year, I didn't take a dime out at all. Everything was just reinvested. Yeah, I was working for free.
Yeah,
I think for me it was last year when I just was doing a lot of RA, and the money was coming back pretty quickly because I was mainly doing eBay. So I was able to, switch business models into Amazon completely.
Yeah, ours was during that COVID spike. Once we, bunch of cash lands on my lap, and are like, wow, let's just buy whatever we can. Let's run it. So that was a major change. But there's other tools like, I don't want people to get discouraged of, oh, I didn't get a loan and it's not going to work. There's viability, which I've heard is good. There's companies like 8Fig that give short-term loans. So there are ways around it. There are ways to get that capital. It's just important to understand that you're deploying that capital in a correct way where it's actually going to be profitable, even after that interest.
Amazon, this is Mike, One Up FBA. How many suppliers do you buy after so many years in the game? I found less is more. Do more with what you have. 3 to 5 main suppliers is good for us.
Yeah, we probably buy from, I would say, 3 to 5 distributors. And I want to say, like, we probably buy from at least 25 brands.
Ooh.
Yeah, smaller brands. But yeah,
guys, we're gonna drop his store down in the comments. So
yeah, that'd be perfect.
Check it out.
Start calling them.
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, we like to, we have a couple brands that we have good relationships with, some that don't take on any more e-commerce guys, and there's better opportunity to kind of advance the needle with some of the brands. Basically, kind of saying, we have a problem here that the photos are all pixelated. They haven't been updated since the platform opened. There's everyone breaking map. Like, we can change things up here and improve. And I'm finally kind of putting that idea in their head after I've been working with them for 4 years. And they're slowly kind of thinking, oh, wow, maybe he is onto something. Maybe we could do that. Right. So, I think there's a lot of room for improvement when you're working with brands. With the distributor, all right, once you get to that top tier discount with some distributor, that's it. With brands, you have this opportunity of potentially enrolling some of their products in transparency, being the sole seller, growing that brand. So, that I think a goal of mine this year is to start to reach out to more brands and just kind of basically say, hey, we see an issue, and this is how we think about solving this issue. Because a lot of people that call brands don't think about the issues that the brand might be going through. They're just thinking about, all right, how can I make a couple bucks? So kind of looking at from a standpoint of, all right, here are a couple things I've noticed. Maybe it's not A+ content, or maybe there's no videos, or, maybe there's 60 guys on the listing. One brand I'm dealing with right now, there's 60 guys on the listing. Every guy that calls me opens up an account. And I told them, good luck keeping all these people at MAP, because the price is completely tanking. And, he was like, I understand your concern, and, I want to have a further conversation. Let's revisit this in the new year. And I'm actually giving him a call tomorrow to kind of go over about cleaning up the listing, and for us to be the sole guy on that listing. And I think he's in Georgia, so I might be flying down.
Hey.
Oh,
he could be your neighbor.
Let's go.
So, yeah, few suppliers, and then some of the brands. We sometimes like to pivot from distributor to brands, and we kind of cross-reference, hey, we're buying from so-and-so already. Why don't we just work with you guys?
Yeah.
Like,
so one of the things that I sort of a learning lesson last year for me, because obviously my time is very limited in this, and I have sort of kept this 3 to 5 rule going on, right? And that's sort of the sweet spot. I agree 100%. I think the other side to that is that your outreach and your sourcing for new brands and new distributors should never stop.
Yeah.
I made that mistake very stupidly, to where 2 or 3 distributors or brands are no longer even feasible. The profits are tanking, everything like that. You're left with 2, maybe not your best ones. And then you can see the effects of that, obviously, in your numbers. So I would say, yes, 3 to 5 main ones. That's very good. But always having that outreach, always making those connections, because you never know when you're going to have to throw them into the loop.
Yeah, and even the ones, of course, brands get sour, where a bunch of people, tank the listing, the brand doesn't know how to control it. But those are kind of opportunities I like to talk with the brand and say, we can kind of solve this. And they kind of like to hear what I have to say about that. So having that open conversation with them, it helps. So, I would say don't give up on a brand that might look like it's never coming back or it's no longer profitable. See how maybe you can become one of their authorized sellers that can eventually fix that listing. But again, there's always a constant hunt. But it's fun though. It's like you find that new product, you bring it in, you're like, wow, this is awesome. It's kind of that game of Clue, that hunt of, all right, what's next? What are we going to find that's going to change the game?
Right. Well, we are at the top of the hour. It's 9:00. Appreciate everybody joining tonight. Alex, again, thanks for hopping on FBABoys.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys. Whenever you want me back on, let me know. I'm always around.
Yep. And I will go ahead and say that if you're looking for a prep center, Alex does have a prep center. It's called Prep Vault. I've been sort of alluding to a prep center that I've been using. He is the one that I've been using. So far, we did a shipment of stuff. I never really used a prep center. I thought I was kind of missing out a little bit. And I will say, not just because you're on it, but sort of the process was super easy. Communication back and forth was very fluid, which is very good. So kudos to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And like I said, now you're going to be able to have more time to focus on more important tasks than doing that prep.
Yeah.
So
now I just get to hear you complain about it.
Yeah, now I get to complain about it. Yeah. So, all right. Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me on. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See you guys.
Have a good one.
All right. Yeah.